Imagine this. A family moves into an old house in Madrid, hoping for a fresh start. But strange things begin happening. Disappearances, terrifying spirits, and a secret that refuses to stay buried. What if everything you thought about their new home was just the surface? This is a story of haunted pasts, broken bonds, and a shocking twist that'll leave you speechless. Just when you think the nightmare's over, bam, you won't believe what happens next. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Dropping a like and a comment is the least you can do to show some love. And like we always say, even if some stories seem the same, they ain't never the same when I'm the one telling them. This isn't just any story. It's based on real events that shocked everyone back in 1972. Two children were playing marbles inside the house. One marble rolled under the door into a room no one was allowed to enter. At first, neither child wanted to go get it. But finally, one brave kid opened the door, and what he saw froze him in place. In the dim light, a woman sat quietly on a chair. The marble lay just beside her. The child reached out slowly to grab it, but as soon as the woman turned and looked straight at him, fear took over. He ran out, heart pounding, unable to forget the cold, empty stare that followed him. The story picks up again, exactly 4 years later, in 1976. A new family moved into the same house in Madrid. Malasana, 32, Manolo and Candela, the husband and wife, brought their 3 kids, Rafael, Amparo, and Papaya, along with their grandfather, Fermin. Before they even stepped inside, Fermin stared up at the upstairs window and said, "This house doesn't feel right. I can sense a negative energy here." But no one really listened. They thought it was just an old man's worry. So they crossed the threshold, unaware that they were walking into a nightmare. Amparo was the one having the hardest time adjusting. She had left her boyfriend behind, and on top of that, she was under a lot of pressure training to become a flight attendant. But Papaya? He was actually happy. He'd spotted a beautiful girl living right across the street. Everyone worked hard cleaning the house. It took forever because the old family's things were still scattered everywhere. Finally, they all settled into their rooms. Rafael and Fermin shared one. But that night, when Amparo went to her room, her grandfather was gone. Worried, she went looking for him. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, locking Rafael inside. Amparo crouched down and peered under the door. What she saw made her blood run cold. The feet of a dark, demonic figure. She screamed, and their parents rushed up to help. After a tense struggle, they forced the door open. Rafael was sitting on the edge of the window, legs dangling into the night. Manolo dashed over and pulled him back just in time. Even though something so strange happened on their very first day, the family tried to push it aside. They buried their fear under daily chores and the heavy weight of money problems. Manolo worked long hours as a mechanic, and Candela spent her days at a sales job. At home, Amparo carried a lot on her shoulders. She cared for her grandfather and little brother, all while trying to keep up with her flight attendant training. But deep down, the house's dark energy was never far away. One day, Amparo heard strange noises coming from the kitchen. She went to check and found Rafael talking to himself, lost in some invisible conversation. Just then, Fermin spotted something moving in the background and slowly walked toward it. Aro, curious, followed him quietly. Suddenly, a marble rolled right in front of Rafael. When he bent down to pick it up, he was pulled into the very same room where the woman had been sitting all those years ago. Before he could even understand what was happening, the TV flickered on by itself and started playing cartoons. But the cartoons twisted into something terrifying. A strange character appeared, staring straight at Rafael. It whispered, "Do you want to play with me? Then come with my friend now. We'll have so much fun together." Terrified, Rafael slammed off the TV, but it wasn't over. The chair behind him began to move on its own. Then suddenly, 2 cold hands reached out from the TV screen, grabbed Rafael's face and pulled him inside. Meanwhile, Amparo found Fermin, who kept saying the same chilling words. "There's someone in this house, and they won't let us stay." She gently brought him back inside, only to discover that Rafael had disappeared. With no other choice, they called the police to start an investigation. At the same time, Candela, Manolo, and Papaya rushed out to search for Rafael. Just then, the house phone rang. Amparo picked it up and heard Rafael's desperate cries for help. She was terrified. The strangest part? The phone line had been disconnected long ago, so how was the call even possible? Before she could answer, the call suddenly cut off. Soon after, Rafael's screams echoed from the long-locked room. The family broke down the door and rushed inside, only to find the room completely empty. No sign of Rafael anywhere. That's when Aro saw movement behind the window curtain. It looked like Rafael was standing there, but when she pulled the curtain aside, it wasn't Rafael. It was the old woman from before, who suddenly grabbed Arrow's hand tightly. Terrified, she screamed, and her parents rushed in to calm her down. After that terrifying night, the whole family was shaken to their core. The fear wasn't just in the house, it followed them everywhere. One day at work, Candela met a girl named Lola. The moment Lola saw her, she immediately started blowing a whistle, her way of speaking since she couldn't talk. Then Lola's mother appeared and said something chilling. "Please keep an eye on your children." She handed Candela a prayer book and warned, "This will protect you from the negative energy." The next day, Amparo found an old phone number for a woman named Sugjana in the house's dusty telephone directory. Thinking she might be the previous owner, Amparo called her from a nearby phone booth. But the moment Amparo said Malasaña 32, Sugjana hung up without a word. Meanwhile, Papaya had started talking to the girl from the house across the street. But after the first day, the girl never appeared at the window again. Instead, she sent letters using a string tied between their houses. The girl said her name was Clara and whispered, "I know your brother is safe." Papaya asked, "How do you know?" She told him, "Meet me in the basement after 20 minutes. When Papaya went down, as she said, something terrible happened. Out of the darkness, the old woman grabbed him and dragged him away. But somehow, Papaya fought free and escaped. Meanwhile, Amparo began feeling strange and unwell. After vomiting in the bathroom, she noticed a long, strange handprint on her stomach, but she tried to ignore it, thinking it was just a coincidence. Aro soon realized she was pregnant by her boyfriend. Later, as Amparo approached the kitchen, she saw through the glass door an old woman standing inside. But when she opened the door, it was her grandfather who stood there. Feeling uneasy, she shut the door, and through the glass, the old woman appeared again, replacing her grandfather. Summoning all her courage, Amparo stepped inside once more, and then her grandfather spoke, but in Rafael's voice, "Pick up the phone." At that moment, the telephone nearby suddenly started ringing. Amparo picked it up, and a voice told her to go to the clock in the next room. When she got there, she heard Rafael's voice coming from inside the clock. Without hesitation, Aro broke the glass and pulled Rafael out from inside the strange hiding place. That evening, the doctor came to check on Rafael. He said, "He's gone into shock and must be carefully looked after." That night, while Candela was sleeping beside Rafael, she suddenly saw an old woman standing in the corner of the room. But before she could even react, the woman vanished, sending Candela into a terrified scream. Meanwhile, Amparo was struggling with her own darkness. Feeling her dreams were shattered and unsure if she could survive with the baby, she tried to take poison. Just as she raised the glass to drink, the light suddenly went out, and the glass slipped from her hand. From that night on, strange and frightening things began to happen to every member of the family. Papaya started getting more letters than ever, each one chillingly saying, "You are mine." One day, Manolo saw the terrifying old woman standing right inside his room. He was so scared that he took his family and spent the night at a hotel far away. The next morning, he rushed to the bank to sell the house and pay off the loan, but the manager told him they had to repay the loan on time, and until then, they had no choice but to stay in the house. Everything was falling apart. On top of everything, Candela lost her job. Before leaving, she took Lola's address and decided to visit her. At Lola's house, she learned something strange. Lola's mother told her that Lola had the ability to see spirits. After hearing everything, the mother and daughter agreed to help and came straight to the house at Malasaña 32. At that moment, Amparo was the only one not home. She had gone to meet Sugjana. When Amparo arrived at Sugjana's house, she saw that Sugjana was an elderly woman with sharp eyes. As soon as Sugjana saw her, she started asking many questions about Amparo and her family. After hearing everything, Sugjana suddenly said, "A small child from your house is about to disappear very soon." Shaken, Amparo shared all the strange things happening at home. Then Sugjana went to fetch some water, but she didn't come back for a long time. While waiting, Amparo started searching the house and found an old photo album. Inside was a picture of a woman who looked exactly like the one in the framed photo hanging on Amparo's wall at home. In several photos, there was also a boy who looked just like the woman in that wall photo. Just then, Sugjana returned and said, "That's not me, that's Clara." It hit Amparo. This was the same Clara Papaya had been sending letters to all along. But how was that even possible? Sugjana explained, "The spirit haunting your house isn't just any ghost. It's Clara, my own sister, but she wasn't born a girl. She was born a boy." That meant the boy in the album wasn't anyone else but Clara herself. Despite being born male, Clara's heart and soul were always like a girl's. She acted like girls. dolls, wore their clothes, and dreamed of becoming a mother. One day, Clara was caught in the basement in a secret moment with another boy. Her parents couldn't accept it. As punishment, they began to abuse her and locked her away in a room, the very same room where Raphael was found. Over time, Clara fully transitioned into a woman, but her parents couldn't accept it. They were overwhelmed with shame and later committed suicide. Sugjana blamed Clara for their deaths and cut all ties with her. In truth, there were two houses at Malasana 32, one for Sugjana and one for Clara. To fight her loneliness, Clara tried many times to reach out to Sugjana, but forgiveness never came. That loneliness, pain, and isolation slowly destroyed Clara. But one thing never died: her desperate desire to become a mother. That's why, after her death, her spirit kept searching for a child in the house. At first, she targeted Raphael, but when she learned Amparo was pregnant, Amparo became her new target. After hearing everything, Sugjana became deeply emotional and full of sympathy for Clara. She realized that when Clara needed her family the most, they had abandoned her. Was it such a sin to be transgender? All her life, Clara was ignored and rejected, not just by society, but by her own sister and parents. They had robbed a mother of her child. Meanwhile, when Lola tried to connect with Clara's spirit, Clara did something terrifying. She possessed Lola. Just then, the telephone in the room suddenly rang. As the call was answered, a cold wind swept through the house. Clara's spirit began violently throwing every family member across the room. Finally, only Lola's mother and Raphael were left in the chaotic room. As Clara moved to kill Raphael, Amparo arrived just in time and stopped her. With tears, she said, "What happened to you is truly tragic. I understand your pain." For a brief moment, Clara calmed down, but years of pain and anger overwhelmed her, and she charged again to kill Raphael. In a desperate move, Amparo grabbed a piece of broken glass and stabbed herself in the stomach because she knew Clara wanted the baby inside her. Clara screamed in agony. Seizing the moment, Manolo jumped out the window with the possessed Lola. Manolo died from the fall, but Lola survived, landing on top of him. After that, Clara's spirit finally left Lola's body. A few days later, Amparo's family was seen leaving the house. It turned out Manolo had life insurance. After his death, the family received a large sum of money. They used it to pay off the home loan and move back into their old house. But in the final scene, the chair in the room at Malasana 32 began moving again, showing that Clara was still there. She was waiting for a child. And with that, the movie ends. What would you do if you moved into a house that held dark secrets and lost someone you loved to a restless spirit? Would you fight back or run for your life? Drop a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I want to hear how you'd survive this nightmare.